Okay. Um we're dealing with death so much. Okay. I've done a couple of videos on losing a loved one and being there for someone who's lost a loved one. Today, okay, it seemed only fitting to kind of fit it after I spoke about my father's passing. Um Years ago, okay, no, it wasn't years ago. Last year sometime I was nudged to write about um post write about my stepfather. So when dad passed away, my mother, I think it was 4 years later, my mother married. And I was kind of nudged to write about the whole situation on Facebook. I'm not a millennial. I don't like private life in a public platform. So I was two ways about it. But I think it took me a good 2 weeks of being constantly nudged that I finally did the post, uploaded the post. And basically, what it spoke about was being a child and accepting a step accepting a step parent. Um, I think an hour later, I received an inbox from a guy who was in my younger brother's class. We were in the same school, but he was with along with my younger brother. And he was like, "You just wrote that for me. We are currently going through the most. We lost our mother during COVID, and my father wants to remarry. It's just a mess, you know. We just not having it. We're not happy about it. We're going. It's just a lot." So, yes, I responded to him the way I saw uh, fit, but it made me realize how here this young man was needing help, and here I was on the other end, on like my private life on public platform. Okay, besides that, but there's no class for it. You know, how do you accept a step parent? How do you go through it? How do you, you know? So I guess the best thing is for us who've gone through it to share about it. Okay, so it's basically a story time. I hope this video is not really long, but I just want to share. This is what happened. Initially, when my father passed on, mom was like, "I'm never getting married." 4 years later, she calls us all into her bedroom and we have sort of a meeting. We call it parliaments. Like, whenever we have those family meetings, where we all have to decide on what's going to happen about what. So here at this meeting, mom called all of us, and she was like, "I know what I said, but I want to get married." She was basically asking for our permission because she said, "I'm gonna do it if you say yes. If you don't, I'm not going to do it." So yeah, here she was, an adult asking for our permission. I think that communicated two messages to us. The first one was that she cared about our feelings, how we thought, how we felt, and that was respecting us. And then, secondly, it was that she still put us first. That even if she was going to get married, we said yes. She was not going to put the new man now run into the sunset with him, you know. So it spoke those two things to us as she said those, as she said the words that I want to get married and I want your permission to do so. And then after that, okay, after our meeting, it was clear that we didn't want her to get married. So yeah, we said no. And then we then started having our own private meetings as the siblings. And the meetings were, we started asking each other real questions like, why don't we want her to get married? I think one of it was sort of a jealousy thing that, "Dad, we're holding the fort down for you. No other man is going to come take your place, you know. No one's going to touch your wife," kind of thing. And then secondly, accepting a new someone into our lives in that sense meant that dad was really not coming back. It, as much as we knew, the mind does things to protect itself. So we just had to finalize our grieving process. Dad wasn't coming back. So this was final. So accepting someone new was having to let go of him, and accepting, yeah, a whole new dynamic into our lives. Um, and one of the things was that one of the questions was that we want why we want mom to be stuck on dad, but we want to continue with our lives. Aren't we being selfish? We asked ourselves these questions. We wanted mom to be here consistently. Dad's wife, even him being in the afterlife. It was done. He was gone. He wasn't coming back, and she really had the right to live her life, continue her life. I understand that in a traditional sense, it's really taboo. For black women, most of the time you just are a widow for life if you lose your husband. Hardly ever remarry. But yeah, here the situation was what it is. So we, after having all these hard questions, and realizing that we have to actually let that go, and realizing that we actually are being selfish, and realize that we cannot be jealous of someone who's not here anymore on behalf of someone who's not here anymore, we actually went back to mom and we gave her permission to get married. Okay. After that, mom went and spoke to her siblings, so our aunts and uncles, and all of them were kind of, what do the kids say? Um, and then if we said, her response was, we've spoken about it, they gave me permission. So it was like, okay, we are for it then. And then mom went and spoke to dad's siblings. I was really scared about them. But when mom spoke to them, surprisingly, they had absolutely no issue. They also wanted to know, what do the kids think, and they were like, the kids are fine. They gave me the permission, and they gave me permission. So, and they were like, if they're fine, we also fine. Okay. So surprisingly, the place that had the resistance was the place we did not expect it. It was the church. Hey. um So I think I was quite disappointed with that. I'm not gonna go into detail, but I do remember one person saying that, and the most surprising part, it wasn't males nor widows who were like, she can't do that. It was married women. I was so surprised in the sense that you get to go home to your husbands, yet you don't want our mother to get married. What's the reason actually behind you being against this? And some went as far as trying to sow seeds, of dividing our family, which I thank God that mom had already spoken to us and we had gone through our own season of, tug of war and asking ourselves the difficult questions, because when people started asking the difficult questions, we already had the answers. So when when people came at us and weren't approving, how can you allow her to get married? How, it yeah, all of us would come back like, so and so said this, guys. We just ended up being on the sense that people will say what they want to say and we have to go on with our lives. But I was really disappointed at the fact that the people who were supposed to be protecting us or spiritually with us, who were supposed to kind of be the ones who were sowing unity within our family, were the people who were like trying to sow division. or the people that the enemy was trying to use to sow division within our own family. I remember one lady who, she was married. She spoke to mom and she was like, if this man dies, what are you gonna do? And I really respect mom for her response that day. She was like, if he passes away, I am going to cry. I am going to mourn. And then I'll pick up the pieces and move on with my life. And that spoke so many things to me, in the sense that we can't be afraid to do things because we're thinking, what if he dies? Or what if this happened? We can't be afraid of love because we are afraid of what might happen. Life happens. Life happens, and you just take it as it comes. So there's no way of sitting back and being like, I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid of this. So that taught me that, and that life happens. We're going to take it like one day at a time. Whatever happens, we're going to deal with it. And yeah, so yeah, that's the so for as I'm doing this video, it's for whatever child that needs to accept a new parent or is going through it, or the parent can also just get some insights as to where the child's mind may be. So someone may be helped somehow, somewhere. Um, yeah, but I can't. Yeah, you might, there might be resistance somewhere, somehow. And the most surprising thing with the resistance in the church was that the very Bible is the one that gives widows permission to get married. So is it First Corinthians 7:39 that says, if the person is bound to a husband as long as the man lives. If he passes on, she can take another husband. Only if that man knows the Lord. So it's not like, since now you're a widow, you can just take any Tom, Dick, and old Jabulani, because, yeah, you're a widow. But the person still has to honor God, because you are being united to this person. Yeah. So, hey. And then, next thing that happened was, I remember having to do a speech. Having to do a speech before that. Okay, before speeches and whatnot, our both our parents, my stepdad brought his children, and we came, and we and mom, we had a meeting. We had to discuss whatever issues we had. So there was a time where the family came together, as in we and the people who would be affected by this, and we had to iron out whatever issues. Well, our hearts weren't in the same place, but we had to iron it out, and yeah, life went on. So it was okay. It was fine. Life went on. But I remember having to do the wedding speech. On behalf of my siblings, I was doing a speech, and the idea that God gave was of a soccer match. Believe it or not, God speaks a lot about fields, hey? Soccer fields for me. Um, the soccer match idea was that when we watch a soccer match, let's say someone can't play anymore, maybe they broke a leg, whatever, they hurt, they step off the field, right? And then the person who comes through to play on their behalf is not given the jersey that the other guy had. They come through and they have their own jersey number, they have their own name on their jersey, and they play the way they can play. So the point that God was making to me was that him as coming through as a stepfather, he wasn't there to fill the shoes of our dad. We were a player short because dad couldn't play anymore. But God is bringing a new player into the field. And God bringing a new player into the field meant that he has his own way of doing things. So we can't give him dad's jersey. We can't expect him to play the way dad played. So the simple idea that God was speaking about was that this new man is not your dad, so don't expect him to be your dad. So I guess that was the speech I gave. Like, we don't want you to be our dad. You are not our dad. Those are the words we said to him. But you can have your own jersey. You can come through and play the way you can play. Um, we won't hold it against you. Dad did this way. So none of us have been in this situation. We don't know what the future holds for us, but we just want you to relax and be okay. Let's take it one day at a time. We don't need to have it all sorted out or figured out right now. It's okay, you know. And really, having him come through um, with my parents, it was quite different because uh, dad has his own house and children. Mom had her own house and children. They both kept their homes. It was a keep, you know, what's yours is yours, what's yours is yours kind of situation. We had both had adult children, so couldn't kind of mix those things up. So it was basically more of a companionship where official boyfriend and girlfriend, where the boyfriend will visit the girl. Yeah, that's what I can say. But our lives, we didn't live permanently together. So mom would visit him for whatever how long, and dad would visit her for whatever how long, living in different cities. So yeah, that's what happened. So I am taking into consideration that the dynamic for our family was a bit different. We didn't have to have him there the entire times, and then we didn't have to come together with other siblings who grew up in a different way, you know, and live with them. We just had to be civil towards each other, even though at times there would be those tug of wars. We never saw each other that much, but both of us saw our parents as the parent came and the other parent came. So yeah, it's gonna be a different dynamic if you're coming together and gonna live together. But still, I think the same rule applies that this person is not here to play your mother's jersey or your dad's jersey, but they are here filling in a role that was vacant. So they're not taking away from your parent. So you don't have to protect your mother or your dad's interest in the absence of your father, or your mother's interest in the absence of your mother. So yes. And then what I do want to mention is that with the soccer jersey thing is that is giving them grace. They not A lot is gonna change. That's what I can communicate. I remember with my stepfather not even knowing how to address him at first, like call him by his surname, call him dad. But as time went by, it just naturally came. I just said dad. It just became natural. I didn't now make a decision to say now I'm gonna call him dad. It just happened, you know. Um, he was there. We had an extra player on the field. He was there for us, and I think that um, being at odds with him would have okay, us accepting him for who he was actually us accepting him for who he was, and dealing with that and not wanting him to come into that mold. That's doing you a favor and doing them a favor, because the exact same thing should come from the parents as well, not now wanting you to fill in the way his daughters treat him, and now he's forcing you to do that as well. Give each other grace to move. This is a whole new family. These children have been raised very differently, you know. So give each other that grace to kind of build this companionship, this family thing, this relationship. And it became quite a joy to have him there, to travel, to have holidays, to call him up and have conversations. Like I had a dad. I had a dad. Well, unfortunately, he passed away in 2020 November from cancer. But I still appreciate the fact that I had a dad. So you are on different, it's either you reject the person and you all have a tough time, or you just accept the person and then you grow in that relationship with that person. And mind you, if you choose the negative one, you are miserable as you try to make their life miserable as well. So yeah. And I remember one particular point this young guy said was that we feel like it's too fast, too what, he's not caring about our mother. And my simple point was that communicate. I think that's the best thing, because with a whole new parent coming through, um understand that you are on the same side. Bottom line, you are on the same side. I remember we there was an event that mom wanted us to go to, and my brother and I really didn't want to go. And then mom told dad, and dad sat us down and kind of explained, this is going to reflect badly on your mother in this way, in this way, in that way. I remember standing up from that and remembering that we actually on the same side. We are a team, and that's what family is. We are on the same side, and we can have the joy of having family. And one of the things I advised the young guy was that communicate with your father. He's your father. He loves you, and that will not change. But when things just happen, we kind of believe whatever stories the enemy wants to tell us in our heads, and we go with that. So, communicating before the new parent comes, actually, now your father trusts your emotions. That next time you are communicating something, they can trust what you're saying. Because we can't deny the fact that there are people who can come through and become evil step parents. But if me and my parents communicated beforehand, and they would knew that they could trust me when it comes to this beforehand, even when there is a real issue, they can trust me again, that I'm actually telling the truth. I'm not making up stories. So this is what happened. So the situation can be dealt with. But if this parent comes through and they turn out to be an evil parent, the fact that there was a crack beforehand, it will just send the whole thing into turmoil, because even your parent doesn't know whether they can trust you or not, because you just didn't want the person in the first place. So it's a whole new world. Um, but yeah, we go through, we take life as it comes. And I hope this video helps someone. You can share it with someone who's going through this, who needs some grace, who's having a hard time accepting a new parent. And then for the parents as well, to just involve your children in the thing, communicate, let them know that you still love them, you still care for them. It's not that you hate their parents, or it's like good riddance, your mother died, but you love them, but life has to go on. And yeah, communicate. We do not give the enemy a foothold. John 10:10. He's there to steal, kill, and destroy. And in whatever way he can remove the richness of life from your family, he will try and do that. And this is one of the ways, especially through blended families, that he tries to destroy you. So don't let him. God bless you.